Hi, I'm Carla Schaefer, Auntie's Beads Designer, and I will be demonstrating how to use a 5-minute epoxy. I'm going to go over the list of tools and supplies needed for this project. I'm going to be using a 5-minute 2-part epoxy. I'm using silver plate charms with rhinestones or crystals in them. I'm using a cross, a skull and crossbones, an open heart, and also a solid heart. I'm using a variety of materials or pendants to put them on. I'm using a black starred onyx. I'm also using a rectangle stone pendant in turquoise, but it also can be used on plastic or acrylic, so I'm also going to be doing one on an acrylic pendant. The only tools really needed will be a pair of nipper tools to remove the loop from the charm and a pair of tweezers to help place the charms on the pendants. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to prep the charms, and what we're going to do is we're going to remove the loop at the top of the charm just by snipping it with a nipper tool. And you want to be careful and wear safety goggles, or at least hold or cover that so that you don't end up flicking it and hitting yourself in the eye with it. So we have trimmed the loop off the top of the charm, and I'm going to just do each one of the charms. On this little heart you can go at it more of an angle, so you keep the shape. This silver plate's very soft, so it's very easy to remove the loops. And then you maybe just can go in and clean it up as well. Okay, now that we've got the loops removed from all the charms, then we'll be ready to prep our epoxy and start gluing them to the pendants. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and prep the epoxy, and this is a brand new tube, so I just wanted to give you a couple of tips on how to use it. This is a syringe container, which means it will push out both parts of the epoxy in this equal amounts at the same time, and then you can mix it. To mix it, it does have a little stir stick in here in between the two tube plungers, and so all you need to do is just kind of take your nipper tool or a pair of pliers or something and just kind of separate it out of there, and it comes off, and this is what you will use to stir the epoxy. Also, the plastic cover of the packaging has a little channel here where it says mix here, and this is a good place to go ahead and mix the epoxy, and it keeps it from getting all over everything out that you have. And when it dries, you can peel it out or wipe it out when you're done with it, so that you can reuse this container. And another thing on the end of this is the cap, and all you do with this is just kind of bend it forwards and backwards until it snaps off. And then that releases the epoxy. And then what you'll do is then use both plungers at the same time, and then mix a little amount into the container, replace the lid, set it aside, and then what you need to do is mix the epoxy with a little stir stick until it kind of becomes a little bit of a frost color or opaque color, and then this will be ready for you to apply the first charm. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the cross to this slab of turquoise, and you'll want to think about the alignment of your hole, whether you want it to sit straight up and down like this, or if you're going to string it and you want it sideways. So you just need to decide on the orientation of the pendant and the charm and how it's going to go. I'm going to have my holes running up and down, and so all I'm going to do now is, if you want, you can use the stirrer to apply the epoxy, or in this case I'm going to use a toothpick. And this does set up, so you need to work kind of quickly. It starts to get really tacky, and then it's not going to be usable. And it does set up in 5 minutes. So I'm just going to apply the epoxy to the back of the charm, and then I'm going to use my tweezers to help me place the cross in the middle of the pendant. And I'm just going to let it set. But this is how it's going to look, and then you'll be able to drop it on a head pin and make it into a pendant. The next one I'm going to do is I'm going to use this stone pendant here, and I'm going to put the pink open heart on it. And you might want to just check your contact. How does the charm apply or fit to the pendant? This one fits all the way around because you won't need to epoxy all areas of the charm. You would only need to epoxy the contact points. And I think the skull and crossbones would be a good example of that. It doesn't fit flat down on the pendant. Just apply a little epoxy. This does dry clear, and you may want to keep a paper towel handy just to clean it off your fingers and your tools. I'm just going to center this, and again I'm just going to let it set, and then the skull and crossbones really only fits mostly at the bottom and at the top of the head here, so I'm just going to apply the epoxy to those areas. And as you can see, the epoxy's getting a little tacky, so I'm going to need to put more out and mix it again. Okay, I've mixed some more epoxy. That's what I say. I mean, I got, it sets up pretty quickly. So I'm just going to apply it again to the bottom parts of the skull and crossbones and to the very top here. And on this one, I'm going to have my holes aligned side by side. I'll do a project. I have an idea how to string this on leather, and I will have that posted on the website with the video. So you just set him on there. And then, as I said, it works on stone, works on wood, metal, and it'll also work on acrylic. This is an acrylic pendant, and I'm just going to again apply epoxy to the charm, and then I'll place it on the pendant. In this case, the tweezers are not very helpful in holding it, but I can just drop it on there and then move it around using the tweezers. So I'm going to make sure it's centered. There again, we've embellished 4 different pendants with 4 different silver-plated charms.